left off. So the two formulas that we were going to talk about are called explicit formula and the second is recursive. So the explicit formula uses the place, in other words, n, to find numbers in the sequence. Okay. Recursive formula uses the previous term, which is a sub n minus 1, to find numbers in the sequence. So the example here is, if we look at the first one, there is an explicit formula, and the explicit formula would just be n. And we would say a sub n equals n. So a sub 1 would equal 1, a sub 2 would equal 2, and so on. The recursive of the same exact formula would be a sub n is equal to the previous term plus 1. So again, this is using that previous term, adding 1 to it. Okay. Explicit for the second one, we're not going to really talk about just yet, so we're going to leave that open. But recursive would just be a sub n equals 2, again, sorry, negative 2 times a sub n minus 1. So again, a sub n minus 1 is the previous term, okay? This one would be a sub n, we're still going with recursive, and it would be 2 times a sub n minus 1, and then it would be plus 1. Okay. This one would be a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 plus 3. And finally, this one does not have a recursive formula because you're not using the previous term to find this term. It does have an explicit, and the explicit formula would be n squared. So a sub 1 would be 1 squared, a sub 2 would be 2 squared, a sub 3 would be 3 squared, and so on. Okay, so that's the difference between explicit and recursive. Recursive is using the previous term, explicit is using the place of the term to find the numbers. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to have you do is practice, so go ahead and pause, practice, and come back and check. Okay, so number 1 is 4, 16, 256. So again, you're using the previous term to find the next one. So the second term would be 4 squared, the third term would be 16 squared because you're using the previous term. Okay, the next one is explicit. So a sub 1 would be plugging in 1 for n, you get 2. A sub 2 would be plugging in 2 for n, and you get 0. And a sub 3 would be plugging in 3 for n, and you get negative 2. I want you to think about a recursive formula that would work for this because you'll notice there's a constant change in this sequence. So think about what that would be. Okay, the third one is negative 5, 14, and negative 24, again using the previous number. Okay, the last one is the 10th term given, so all you have to do is plug it into the formula to get the 11th term. And that's it. So you can take a look back over those, discuss a little bit more, then you can go ahead and check in with the substitute and grab your homework worksheet for today. And if you finish that, there is no homework. Have a great weekend, guys.